David Shearer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. John Key must put aside his own self-interest and finish the job that he started. The public deserves an answer to the question that actually John Key asked himself: who leaked the Kitteridge report? Because, frankly, Mr. Speaker, we still do not know. A minister resigned last week, and we don't know why yet, sir. And the stakes for John Key are very high, and we need to get to the truth of the matter. The leaking of sensitive documents is serious enough, but actually this goes to the heart of the government's stability. How much longer can this government continue to be propped up by someone who has been accused and looks to be guilty of leaking, and somebody, sir, that is currently before the courts? So,
point of order, the Honourable John Banks.
Order about matters that are before the courts and members that are before the courts. Otherwise, we'll talk about the money laundering account in New York.
Order.
The money laundering account.
Order. Member will resume his seat. It's a debatable issue. Order.
Is there not a long-held standing order that says that matters before the courts cannot be debated in this Parliament by members who are associated with the matter before the court?
The Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr. Speaker, there is a long-standing standing order about debating matters which are before the court. There's a difference between debating a matter and going to the question of judgment involved and referring to the fact that the member shares my unfortunate. I'm an unfortunate predecessor. There was plenty of reference with the McCready matter when I was appearing before courts, and so there's no reason. The reason for not referring to it might be seen that people were moving on a question of judgment. I hate referring to Mr. Terrace as a ruling, sir, but in this case, on 31.3, there are no grounds for ruling against a member making a statement that there is a legal action in existence. But the members should refrain from giving emphasis to the likely outcome. Now, I think that was actually the terrorist drunk driving case, but Mr. Speaker, but I think the ruling is a good one.
And I thank the honourable member for that, because it is not out of order to refer to the fact that a case is before the courts, but it is out of order to refer to the details of the case. I call the honourable member David Shearer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I acknowledge the member for bringing that to the House's attention.
Point of order.
Order. We have a point of order on the floor.
It's the money laundering bank account in New York. I'm bringing to attention.
Order. Now that is a frivolous interjection designed to break up a speech. The member has his first yellow card. I call the honourable member David Shearer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's look at the facts. David Henry's report threw up 3 suspects.
Order.
Two of those suspects were cleared and 1 remained, Peter Dunne. Peter Dunne resigned as a minister. Peter Dunne has told this Parliament and the New Zealand public that he had nothing to do with leaking the Kitteridge report. In the Finance and Expenditure Select Committee, sir, Peter Dunne could not have been clearer. When he was asked directly, he said whether he leaked the report, he said categorically no. And here's the problem for Mr. Key. The Prime Minister's own investigation leaves Mr. Dunne as the only suspect. And that's why we need an investigation. This matter raises the most serious of questions. Did Peter Dunne leak the sensitive report? Has he lied to the New Zealand public and this House? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Neither does the people of New Zealand. And, sir, it cannot simply rest there. And Mr. Key cannot simply walk away from this report and not get to the bottom of what actually is going on here, sir. Peter Dunne is the only one who had the report and exchanged that quantity of emails with a political reporter. He did that, sir, on a ministerial computer that is subject to the Official Information Act. Peter Dunne's one of our most experienced ministers in this government and one of the longest serving MPs in this House. And he knows he's covered by the Official Information Act. He knows that they could have been requested by any member of the public and any member of the media. And I'm sure that most of the media agencies have an Official Information Act request to see those emails in right now. So he went in with his eyes wide open to this, Mr. Speaker, and now Mr. Dunne claims the emails might clear him. But he won't show them to, certainly not to David Henry, who could have seen them confidentially. He won't show them to Mr. Key, the only man in New Zealand, sir, who appears to trust Peter Dunne, or we suppose he does, because yesterday the Prime Minister kicked him off the Intelligence and Security Committee. That's right. Now, he said that that was because he needed to be a minister. Well, in fact, that's not true. That's right. If you look at the Act, sir, that is simply not true. The real reason, sir, is he actually can't trust them to sit on that committee where we're listening to confidential information. But he will trust them to prop up his government. That's right. He will trust them to prop up his government. So we have a government that's now propped up by a rorter of electoral law. That's right. And somebody who is leaking. And that is a joke, sir, and New Zealand knows it, and Mr. Key knows that as well, and it's why Mr. Key has simply walked right away from that report and its investigation. His only concern is to prop up Mr. Dunne and prop up John Banks, and that's where the matter stops and starts for him. And if you look through that lens, all of a sudden everything becomes very, very clear. Because this isn't the first time that Mr. Key has done this. Because if anybody can remember the tea tapes. The tea tapes, sir, was when John Key called in the police in the middle of the tea tape saga to desperately get to the bottom of what was going on. It was because of John Key that search warrants were issued to search the contents of 4 media agencies. That's how a big defender of the media Mr. Key is. He didn't think twice. He didn't think twice when calling in the police that to give him the sort of political protection that he needed. Back then, sir, he was claimed that was a matter of principle. But where is that sense of principle today, sir? Where is responsibility to get to the truth? It's nowhere to be seen, and it's a complete and utter double standard. And the public, sir, deserves answers. And this House should be left in no doubt that this is an issue that is as serious as it gets. It involves one of the government's support parties and one of John Key's most senior and trusted members. The report, sir, was considered so sensitive that it was held in a highly restricted electronic system within the GCSB. No electronic copies were distributed, just 35 copies of the report were circulated. The report was a matter of our national security, the most sensitive information we have, and 2 months ago, just 2 months ago, John Key agreed. 2 months ago, leaking the report was so serious, it demanded an inquiry. 2 months ago, John Key that said that these leaks, quote, undermine the integrity of the entire public service. 2 months ago, he said, quote, he had a responsibility to get to the bottom of it if we can. Sir, today all of that has mysteriously changed. Today he's trying to spin it that it is no big deal. Today he's trying to say that leaking it was nothing more than transgressing or breaking an embargo. Today he doesn't want to get to know about it. Today John Key won't go the extra step to finish the job. And the truth for that is very, very simple. It's become a matter of political expedience. And all we want, sir, is to get to the bottom of it. We don't need to go as far as the T-tapes and bring in the police. We just want to know the truth. We want him to get to the bottom of what went on. He won't do that because, sir, his support partner now is in the gun and the stability of his government is at stake. His own political skin is on the game. Once again, we're seeing his self-interest put above everything else. Propping up John Banks and Peter Dunne is more important, sir, than getting to the truth. And for John Banks, when it comes to Peter Dunne, John Key, when it comes to Peter Dunne and John Banks, it's better the devil beast you know than the devil beast you don't know. Sir, because I can tell you, we had the finger pointed at us a few weeks ago, and all you need to do is look behind you to see how stable that government is. See how stable that government is. John Key needs Peter Dunne to prop him up. Peter Dunne has the casting vote that put Mighty River Power, Meridian and Genesis on the block. John Key needs Peter Dunne to pass the Sky City deal. That sleazy deal, sir, because all he needs is one vote, and that's coming, sir, from Peter Dunne. And that's not good enough, sir. New Zealanders expect much more from their Prime Minister than that. He promised higher standards, but instead we've been dragged from one scandal to another to another. He won't even look at the police report that refers to John Banks because he doesn't want to know. We have to ask the questions, and he says he doesn't know because he hasn't read the report, because he doesn't want to know what is actually in that report. He knows that as soon as he does, he'll have to fire him as well. So turning a blind eye is not leadership. And we saw it again, sir, in the response to the MMP review. And let's remember what happened to that review. That review, sir, was meant to be about ensuring that people who voted for MMP got a chance to improve the system. But Judith Collins turned around and said, no, we don't want to hear about that, and absolutely cancelled it. And why? Because they were standing up and protecting John Banks and Peter Dunne. That's the reason why. It wasn't because they wanted to improve the system. They had to prop up their mates. And, sir, the Sky City deal, if you want to move on to more scandal, they were given even a better deal, a better access to ministers than any other tenderer in that deal. That is what I call, sir, a sleazy deal. And even Stephen Franks, sir, even a former National Party candidate, believe it or not, actually stood against Grant Robertson. And he lost, comprehensively lost. Thinks it's wrong to sell a 35-year exemption under the law. John Key had invested so much into that deal, he had to get something out of it, no matter how much it cost New Zealanders. The government is certainly, sir, only consumed by its own survival. New Zealanders deserve much more than that from this government, and that's why, sir, we need to get to the bottom of what went on here. It is not good enough simply, sir, to walk away from it and wipe our hands of it, sir. We need to know what happened. We need to know the truth, and I am tired of John Key standing up and ignoring what he needs to face up to. Absolutely ignoring it. Sir, This government is propped up by two phonies, sir. Two phonies, and that man needs to face up and tell New Zealanders the truth. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order. I call the Honourable Minister